In Metal Gear Solid 3, you play as Snake the Snake, a soldier with the mission of, among other objectives, eliminating the Cobra unit, a group of legendary soldiers with special abilities created by the soldier The Boss to combat the Axis forces during the Second World War. One of the members of the Cobra unit is The End. Considered the best sniper in the world and known as the father of sniping due to having created all the modern techniques used by snipers, The End is a formidable opponent that you have to fight in a very interestingly designed encounter. The fight against The End is designed to be memorable in both a narrative and a mechanical level, and makes use of different techniques to achieve this. First of all, the game tries to direct part of the player's attention towards the character of The End before the battle actually takes place. The End is mentioned in some occasions in various dialogues, and he's shown in a scene before the fight in which he appears sleeping in a wheelchair. This gives him a narrative importance as a villain, and makes it so that he has some presence in the player's mind, generating expectations and a certain degree of interest. These expectations are also a first step towards achieving one of the things that make this battle so good, a high degree of immersion. The battle with The End is, within the context of the game, one of the most realistic ones. You fight a legendary sniper that has been presented to you as a legendary sniper, and that acts as one, trying to surprise you and shoot you from different spots, and trying to reposition himself if you get too close, using if necessary resources like stun grenades. But I'm talking about something that goes beyond that. You see, one of the main problems of boss battles in video games is repetitive mechanics and mechanic limitations. In a lot of games, bosses are kind of puzzles in which you have to react in a certain way in front of their movements to defeat them. A lot of the times, bosses have movements that eventually repeat themselves, and the amount of things you can do in front of them, the options you have to solve this puzzle, are limited because of how the game works. This doesn't have to be a bad thing. There are very good boss fights that fall into this description to a certain extent, but a lot of the times it creates a distance between the player and the world of the game. The fact that you as a player can detect mechanical patterns that don't seem organic but rather created by a machine, and the fact that some things don't work as the player's perception tells them they should, like not being able to break certain things with a bomb, act as reminders that the world you are in is not a real world, but a virtual one. And if you want to create an immersive experience, you have to try to avoid that as much as possible, though obviously it's impossible to avoid it 100%, at least currently. The encounter with The End achieves a very high degree of immersion. It feels real. Not only the way he acts and reacts is the way you can expect from him, but the environment and the opportunities you have to attack are also very realistic. There are many ways to defeat The End, all of them logic and unique. You can try to catch his pet that will reveal his location, you can try to find the glow of his lantern, you can use thermal goggles, the directional microphone, you can try to fight him using a sniper rifle, or you can try a stealthy approach. The experience the encounter gives is that of a problem that you have to solve using the tools you have as a soldier, and when you use them, you are creating your own solution to the problem, rather than finding one that was already there. This allows you to feel like you have a high degree of autonomy, which contributes to the immersion the experience delivers. Another thing the battle achieves is putting the player in a state similar to a flow state, in an uncommon way. The flow state is a state in which the player is concentrated and implicated in what he's doing, while the game gives immediate feedback and well-defined objectives. It's that state in which you are when you play a rhythm game, or an arcade shooter, or games like Tetris. In a lot of cases, the flow state is achieved by putting the player in a situation in which it has to act quickly and constantly in the game's environment. The fight against The End uses the threat of the presence of an enemy that you don't know if it's truly there or not to force you to pay constant attention to your surroundings, searching for him. And when you find him, you have to surprise him, but if he surprises you, you are greeted with a tranquilizer dart and his voice. The fight creates an experience that combines something akin to the float state, something similar, with tension similar to that you can find in some fear games, in a combination I find quite interesting. Despite all these positive points, the battle also has some design errors. and quite obvious, mainly two of them. First of all, the fact that you have to access the cure menu each time you get shot. You see, Metal Gear Solid 3 introduced a new mechanic that interacted with the player's condition. Different actions and elements in the game's environment interact with the player's body and require treatment done from a menu using the correct tools. For instance, the player can break a leg, get a stomachache, get leeches attached to his body, and all these situations have to be solved using adequate treatment, bandages, alcohol, etc. It's an original system, but it's not precisely very dynamic. In the fight against the End, each time he shoots you, a tranquilizer dart gets stuck in your body, continuously reducing your stamina until you get it out from the cure menu. We've said two of the strong points of the design of the battle are its capability of immersing the player in the action, and the fact that it creates a dynamic experience. Well, having to open the menu each time you get shot destroys both of the strong points. Like, couldn't they have just made it so that the darts directly reduce your stamina by a fixed amount? You see, having to open the menu each time you get shot reduces the immersion, because the menu is obviously something that is not part of the game world. And furthermore, because the menu pauses the action, it also reduces the tension we've talked about. The second problem this fight has is that it can be dragged on too much, becoming repetitive, especially if you try to defeat him by depleting his stamina rather than his health. Even though the encounter delivers a unique experience, it doesn't offer too much variety in terms of situations. In conclusion, the battle against the End is an interesting fight that manages to create a memorable experience, using concepts that aren't seen in games as often as I would like them to. But it also features some rather obnoxious problems. I think it's an excellent fight from which you could take ideas to create very good boss fights in the future. What do you guys think about it? I would like to see your ideas in the comment section. I hope you found it interesting, and until next time!